And it was just like I was numb and I didn't want to do anything. And we got through Christmas, and it all hit me on New Year's. You know, New Year's Eve was my son's birthday. We didn't do anything. We just stayed home. We sang happy birthday to him. Like, we put my son to bed, and it was just like my husband and I were both downstairs on my couch, and we're just sitting there. We're watching all these people party and like all this crazy shit. And then it was just like 3, 2, 1. And me and my husband, when the ball dropped, we just looked over at one another, and we were like, Happy New Year. And that was when it all of a sudden, that day, it all just started to hit me. Wow. Took a month almost to like fully hit me. Like, my son's birthday, like, my mom's not here to celebrate my son's birthday with me. That is the worst thing I could think of. My mom was so good with my son. Like, that part of it, it was like so hard. I can't even explain how it was I don't know. It was so hard. You know, people try to give you advice, and I know they're trying to just comfort you and do the right thing, but like, this is what happens, okay? You know, you have the funeral and everybody's there for you and they're all, you know, calling you up, and then like it trickles off as time goes on. You know, a month later, you're not getting phone calls as often. You're not hearing from people as often, you know, and you're starting to feel these things. And it's like, kind of like right when you need everybody, that's when everybody disappears. They're all there during the funeral and everything, and then all of a sudden everybody disappears. My husband's upset, but he's never gonna know how upsetting it is for me. It's my mom. And my son was too young to really understand what grief was. And so like, people would give you advice and they'd be like, oh, you know, just focus on your son. And I gotta be honest with you guys, like, it was almost too hard to focus on my son. My mom played such a big role in our lives that like every time my son did anything funny or whatever, I would record him and send her a message or send her a picture, like, all day. If you go through our texts, you'll just see there's pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures where I have FaceTime with her and doing things with him. I felt like I was like, what's like the whole purpose of this? That's what it started to feel like. I almost felt like there was no purpose of being a mother anymore. I know that sounds so up, but I would actually get more upset when I was with my son and like almost resentful towards him, as this sounds, because, you know, you got a 3-year-old. He doesn't get that you're grieving and you're upset or you don't feel like talking or you want to isolate. He don't understand those things. He's like, mommy, you know, like normal. And I'm like a zombie. Like, I was a zombie for a good year. In fact, I look back because there's times where like we did videos and I'm just like in there like staring. Like, I could see myself. Like, I'm not there. I checked out of motherhood for a while. Thank God for my husband, because like he stepped up to the plate. And, you know, still to this day, I still have days. I still have periods of time where I get down. Plus all the other shit we were going through. I'm dealing with the grief, and then like I'm also grieving my family too. I'm grieving the loss of my brother and my aunts and my cousins that I don't talk to anymore. So it was so much. I don't even know how I got through this shit. I really don't. I don't know. So anyway, Christmas and all that passed. I'll never forget. I get screenshots. People start sending me screenshots of my brother. New Year's Eve. The thought of going out and socializing with other human beings and drinking and all that shit, there was like nothing about it that made me want to do that. No thanks. I just couldn't even think about it. It was like I didn't want to do anything like that for a really long time. Took me like a good year almost. Like, even still, I'm kind of just like, I'm good. I don't need to go out and socialize. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I couldn't even picture being out at a bar. I just couldn't even fathom it. But of course, you know, my brother and Satan, they're out. Satan posts a picture of my brother with the 2018 glasses on, and he's got this stupid hat on, and I'm just like, dude, you're so insensitive. You're so insensitive. People were like, ugh. How do you do that? Your mom just passed away, and you're out like, yay, Happy New Year, like looking like a asshole. You just look like you're such a clown. You were such a clown. You look like such a douche, really. It didn't slow them down whatsoever. They were going on vacations and doing their thing. Nothing changed in their lives. And I felt very, very deeply affected. I guess that's the best way to put it. So my aunts never answered me back. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So if you're an executor of a will, that doesn't automatically mean you can just start doing what you want. It doesn't matter if you're an executor. You still have to file a petition with the court just to let the court know, like, hey, here I am. I'm the executor, and I'm going to file a petition with the court to be the executor and start taking my responsibilities. So that you could get what's called letters of administration. Those are the letters that you would hand to a banks and, whatever, those kind of places, financial institutions, whatever, so that you could, do what you got to do to settle the estate, collect assets, and distribute assets. So my aunts had to file a petition with the courts, and then we still had to go through this process where we get served with citations and we could object, or we could just sign a waiver of consent and let them be the executors. But at this point in time now, and especially after this whole incident at my mom's house back on December 17th, I told my attorney about it. And I'm like, listen, one of the things that Satan said to the cop, and I forgot to tell this when I was telling the story, is she told the cop that night, I talked to the executors and they told me that we could come and take whatever we want from the house. That was her words. Her words. And I'm like, wow, really? You talked to the executors? There are no executors yet. And I think I even wrote to my aunts after that incident and told them, listen, I had an incident with my brother last night. I just want you guys to hear it from me before the story gets completely twisted and blown out of proportion. Cops did come. And I said, you guys might be the named executors, but you're not the executors yet. You have to file a petition with the court still. Okay? Thanks. So it took them like another month and a half to file the petition with the court to actually become executors. And so I sat down and I talked to my attorney about it. And I'm like, they're not talking to me. And then now they're going to favor my brother. They're already telling him he could go over the house, take whatever the fuck he wants. And I'm stuck here in the dirt. So, and I'm sorry, I am the one who took care of my mom. I am the one who was closer with her. I do feel entitled to have some say in what's going on. Call me crazy. I feel like they're going to just railroad me. They can't with the money, okay? So I wasn't never worried about the money. There's really not much they could do, especially nowadays where there's a paper trail everywhere. But I was afraid about the stuff in my mom's house, her photos, and my brother had already he took all our family videos, every single family video, and he told me this, right? This was like the day after my mom died, or 2 days. He told me that he was going to take all the videos and he's going to put them on DVD because my mom had a VCR that actually transferred things to DVD. And he's like, and I'll give you a copy. He never gave me a copy. Now I'm getting concerned because I'm like, he has all of our family movies. He never gave me a copy. Like, I'm thinking all these things, what am I going to get? I'm not going to have a say. My mom did not want an estate sale. My brother had already mentioned this estate sale at 100 times, right? And, I don't mean to throw my aunt under the bus, my mom's youngest sister, but like, my mom even said it to her, too, that she didn't want an estate sale. I mean, she said it to me multiple times. Your mom told me she didn't want an estate sale. I'm like, no, she did not. I'm really getting concerned now that I am going to get, when it comes to selling my mom's house and cleaning it out and all that kind of. And all I wanted to do is just do the right thing. Settle my mom's estate, go through her house with dignity and humility, and get things done the way she wanted them done, okay? Not the way I wanted them done, the way she wanted them done. And I was just so afraid. I can't even tell you guys how much anxiety I had, because I'm like, okay, I don't have anything left of my family. When somebody dies and they're the last part of your family, that you had, it's like the things that all their things and their possessions like start to have more meaning to you now, because it's all that's left of your family and your legacy. And I want to be able to show my son, like, look, this is where I grew up and this is things that I used to have and these are pictures, this is Nana and this is, so it's like I literally could not sleep over thinking that I was going to just not get anything. It was scary. It was very scary. It's just so hard. I could not sleep, dude. Like, stupid little tchotchkes meant everything because it's all I have left. So I go to my attorney and I ask him what I could do. And he tells me that you have a right as an heir to object to your aunts being the executors. And at that point in time, because nobody would talk to me, I felt like I had no choice. And so we had to wait for my aunts to actually file their petitions, which took a little bit of time. So I finally get served with my petition. I don't know when it was. I don't know if it was in like March, maybe like the first week of March. It was around my birthday for some reason. I kind of remember it being around my birthday. My birthday is March 5th. Okay. And I get served and I look at the petition and I'm like, oh, check that out. My aunts are using the same exact attorney to file their petition that my brother used to file his petition. His false petition for administrator. How do you like that? So right there, that in and of itself was a conflict of interest. Now it's really going to be unfair. So my attorney then tells me that I can file to object to the will. Okay, guys, you're going to get a little confused here, but for some reason I stopped filming that day and then decided to pick the story up another day. So my outfit's going to be a little different. I'm going to explain this to you guys in the best way I can. I had already spoken to my lawyer and we planned on objecting to my mom's will. Okay. Now, here's another thing, okay? People don't know about wills and estates. As a named beneficiary on somebody's will, you have rights, and I had the right to object to my aunts being the executor. When you object to a will, it is very, very, very costly to litigate. My attorney told me several stories of money that was just completely squandered because siblings were fighting in court with each other. He told me that more often than not, this is how things go down. If you would have asked me 10 years ago if I thought my brother and I would have been fighting after my parents died, I would have told you guys you're crazy. That never would happen. But here I am, and my brother and I are not speaking now for 5 years. After they filed their petition, I then would normally receive a citation, like a notification, basically. The court's going to send you a notification that that the petition was filed for the executors to become executors of the estate. My attorney had written up an objection. I believe it was like the first week of March when my attorney filed my objection to the will. We had no plan on actually litigating this and fighting it in court. But let me tell you guys something. My nerves were on edge, okay? This was something that I worried about day and night. Besides just grieving my mom and missing the out of her. I mean, like, I missed my mom so much. I could barely function during this time. I'm upset about that, but I am so nervous because the thought of losing my family memories just terrified me. I felt like my heart was constantly racing all the time. What's gonna happen? What are they gonna do? Again, I'm not talking to these people, so I have no idea what they're thinking. I don't know what's going on. It was a lot, okay? I didn't hear anything from them. The whole month of March went by. I don't want to put my attorney down. I wish I did a little bit more research. Not that he was a bad attorney or anything like that. He was a good attorney. He was just old. I think he was just tired. He was kind of done. I don't know. I wish I got a better attorney. Everything moves so slow. And you don't want to keep calling them because it costs you money every time you call these people. And, so you're kind of just left sitting there waiting. So from March to April, I heard nothing. It wasn't until the first week of April that year, I get this email from my brother, and I'm going to read the email for you guys. And here's the email. You could see it was March 30th. I'm sorry, I was wrong. It was sent in March, not April. Anyway, it says, Leanna, I've heard that you are in the process of objecting to the will that you and your attorney filed in surrogate's court, which divides mom's estate 50/50. Your objection will not change the settlement of the estate. It will waste away the money she worked so hard for. I was under the impression that since you, and notice how that's all underlined in bold, filed the will, which names Aunt Debbie and Aunt Betty as executrices, it's like, here we go again. You have to be all fancy about everything. You would sign the waiver and consent as I did, and letters testamentary would be issued shortly. Thus, an estate account would start paying all of her expenses instead of me. Since you are dragging this out with the next court date is 11/13/2017, see attached pre-trial order, I will not be paying any more expenses. Notice you had to bold that. Specifically,
I won't be paying the oil bill. The account has a 600 plus balance and no more oil will be delivered and the heat will be turned off. The oil will not last till 11/13/2017. I won't be paying the electric bill. The electric will be disconnected. I won't be paying the water bill. I won't be paying the homeowner's insurance for the house. Once squatters or vandals are in the house, no damage they cause will be covered. The car payment is several months past due. The car will be repossessed. Due to the house being vacant, without utilities, and apparently abandoned, it will be susceptible to vandalism, squatters, and or theft. I understand that you're concerned that you're not going to be treated fairly in the settlement of the estate. I also understand that you're concerned that mom's wishes aren't going to be carried out. Consider that, and here we go. We have the bullet points, okay? You ready for this? Because I got a lot of emails like this. A public administrator is answerable to surrogates court and has the same fiduciary responsibilities as executrixes do. If you feel that you are being treated unfairly by either, your remedy is the same. You file a complaint with surrogates court and they compel the administrator or executrix to comply with the will. Now, you notice my brother's condescending tone here. He's trying to sound like this is all so fancy schmancy because, stupid Leanna. Anyway, a public administrator is not a free public service. What? Anyway, it will cost over $18,000, while Aunt Debbie and Aunt Betty would be free. Yeah, I don't know about that, but nobody was asking for a public administrator. Anyway, public administrator also hires an attorney with additional legal fees in the neighborhood of $5,000. I don't even know where he's getting this whole public administrator thing from. The estate's attorney's fees will be nearly $15,000 to defend against these objections, and I imagine your attorney's fees will be similar. Some of these fees will be at least $50,000, if not more, and in the end, the estate will be divided 50-50 as Mom wished. If you continue with this, when you lose your case in November, the estate will not pay for your attorney's fees. Like, he was so convinced that I was losing in November. It's not like if you lose, it's when you lose. The estate's attorney will be paid by the estate to defend against your case. Half of the fee to defend against your objections will be paid by your inheritance. All of the fee to prosecute your objections will also be paid by you. If you truly are concerned that Mom's wishes be carried out and that the estate's assets not be squandered, as your sworn affidavit states, then it would be in your best interest to drop these objections and let your aunts do what Mom trusted them to do. And as you guys can see, there's 2 PDFs attached to this, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But I mean, this is straight up bullying, threatening, intimidation, like in its most raw, clear form, and it's really disturbing. So let's look at the other stuff. Okay, so these are the pre-trial order thing that he referenced in his email. I'm not going to read it to you guys, just all a bunch of nonsense, basically just telling us where we have to be, when we have to be there, how things are going to work, and, all that kind of stuff. Now, this is the petition that my attorneys wrote up. Yes, I said attorneys. I had 2. I didn't hire 2. I hired 1, but it's a whole long story. But anyway, this was the first time I was seeing this, which is crazy and basically why I'm telling you guys that I wasn't happy with my attorney. This was just one of their reasons, but I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will read the important parts, okay? So for instance, in this last paragraph here, number 3, this is where it really starts getting into the whole reasoning of why I am petitioning the court. And it says, despite his knowledge of the will, my brother, filed an administration proceeding with this court through his attorney, and William, we'll call him Mr. Bad. See text messages annexed here to as Exhibit A. Basically what that is we had to provide, evidence to basically back up what we were saying. So there was a text message attached, I believe. And as I read these, I will, try to interpret some of the legal vernacular to make it more understandable. So anyway, it says, within the administration petition, my brother swore to the fact that, quote, a diligent search and inquiry had been made for will of the decedent, my mom, and none has been found. However, Ms. Me, they're talking about me, was able to contact the attorney who drafted the will. And then it just says the attorney's name, we'll call him Frank, to secure that the will, which was thereafter filed with this court. Number 5, at the time he attested to having been unable to discover the will, Mr. my brother was well aware that the will existed, and he did know. I mean, you guys saw the text messages a couple of videos ago. So anyway, number 6, upon discovering the will, Mrs. Me contacted the proposed executors. However, since the death of the decedent, the relationship between me and the proposed executors has broken down to the point where they will no longer speak to her in any manner. They have even gone so far as to block her on their cell phones and Facebook so she can have no communication with them whatsoever. Moreover, the proposed executors have retained William, my brother's attorney. So that's my brother's attorney, the same attorney who represents her brother, from whom she is also estranged, to represent them in this matter. On information and belief, Mr. Bad, my brother's attorney's retainer in this manner, was paid to him by the brother, not the proposed executors. So in other words, my brother paid, which they should have been paying if they were the executors. Since the death of the decedent, my mother, my brother and his wife have repeatedly gone to the home of the decedent and removed personal property from therein, all with the knowledge and upon information and belief consent of the proposed executors, and despite the fact that me, Mrs. Me, has a 50% interest in all of the property of the estate. Basically, they were removing things without my consent or without informing me. Number 9, based on the complete breakdown in communication between the proposed executors and me, well, as the consent implied or otherwise of the proposed executors to the removal of estate assets by Mr. my brother and or his wife prior to the performance of a preliminary inventory, it is respectfully that this court declined to appoint the proposed executors as representatives of the estate and instead appoint an impartial representative. In the event that the court elects to appoint the proposed executors, then in that event, it is respectfully submitted that the estate be required to retain independent counsel to represent the estate in this manner, given Mr. Bad's representation of my brother. Number 10, that these actions on the part of the proposed executors by allowing other beneficiaries of the estate to abscond with the assets thereof without any attempt to secure those assets shows an attempt by the proposed executors to favor one beneficiary over the other. 2, personal hostility between the two will justify the removal of the trustee only where it impairs the proper administration of the trust fund. Here, the personal animus of the proposed executors towards Miss Me, as well as their consent to the estate being removed by the blank, my brother, disqualifies them as representatives of the estate. Basically, in summary, what they were trying to say is that my aunts were doing really nothing to protect the assets. And, by allowing my brother to remove things, they were showing that they favoritism towards him and bias towards me, I guess. And so they went on, they cited some cases, and they were also asking the court to, issue me letters, or if they wouldn't issue them to me, that me and my brother and everybody had to get separate counsel. And so, I don't really know why my brother came out of this thinking that we were asking for a public administrator. I'm confused. So this is my excuse me, this is my sworn affidavit. It's basically just kind of like my version of the story, so I will read this to you guys. It's not that long. Anyway, says Leanna blank, being duly sworn, deposes and says, number 1, that she is the daughter of Carol, the decedent in the above captioned manner. 2, that my mother died on November 20th, 2016, leaving surviving myself and my brother as 2 heirs. My father passed away prior to my mother's death. Number 3, my mother's residence is a privately owned home, and then it gives her address. Excuse me. Shortly after my mother's death, my brother and I discussed my mother's estate. We were both aware that it had been my mother's intention to draw a new will while she was in the hospital, but never did. But had an existing will, which had been in effect for many years. The will had been prepared by the family attorney, Frank, with offices in Nassau County. Says, I discussed the matter with my brother, who was going to my mother's house on several occasions, which I witnessed him taking possessions out of the home, as a result of which Suffolk County Police were called on December 17th, 2016. My brother and his wife left with material from my mother's house, all of which was seen by myself and my neighbors. Number 5, my brother indicated to me that he was not going to attempt to obtain the will that he knew existed from my mother's family lawyer, and told me he thought I took the will, which I did not at the time. He said that he was going to court and file to be administrator of the estate, so he would control it regardless of the existence of the will. Attached as Exhibit A is a copy of text message that was sent to me by my brother November 25th, 2016. Your deponent, which is me, then contacted the office of Frank, who was indicated that he held my mother's will and was mailing it to me. See Exhibit B. Meanwhile, my brother, whose attorney, William Bad, filed a petition for the letters of administration with the Surrogates Court on December 1st, 2016, a copy of which is attached Exhibit C, which he certified in paragraph 4 that he made a diligent search and inquiry for the will of the decedent and none had been found, and he was unable to obtain any information concerning any will, and that the decedent died without leaving a will. This statement was purely false. He knew about it. We had texted. It had been discussed. He simply wanted to have control of the estate and bypass the will, which I told him I was going to obtain. Number 7, your deponent, upon obtaining the will from the family lawyer, did turn it over to my attorneys, Richard and Frederick, who then filed it with the Surrogates Court on December 13th, 2016. Receipt attached as Exhibit D. Number 8, upon information and belief, my attorneys were in contact with Mr. Bad, notifying him that there was in fact a will which had been filed and that filing a petition for administration was improper. My mother had not died intestate, which means without a will. Attached as Exhibit E is a letter from my brother indicating that he had filed an administration proceeding at the Surrogates Court, despite the fact that he knew there was a will in existence naming my 2 aunts as co-executors of the estate, and then it just says my aunts' names, Debbie and Betty. Number 9, my brother sent me texts indicating that the attorney that he hired was going to handle everything and that I did not have to do anything. 2 executrices, Betty and Debbie, my aunts, never contacted me, but apparently were in contact with Mr. Bad because my brother filed a probate petition with the Surrogates Court. At this point, attempting to represent the estate, my aunts and my brother, with nobody contacting me. Mr. Bad then forwarded to me waivers to sign with regard to the probate proceeding, indicating I would be served with a citation. I did not consent to the probate, and I have now received a citation. See Exhibit F. I do not believe that it is in the best interest of the estate that Mr. Bad should represent the executrices and my brother and ignore me, since I am a 50% beneficiary of my mother's estate pursuant to the will. There is a house that has to be protected. It's winter time and it is vacant. Fortunately, friends and neighbors pass by and check it periodically. They have been going in and out, but what they have or have not taken, I cannot inventory. I have not been told what is in the house, what they are taking, or what they are doing. My attorneys did advise me that the estate and executrices should have a separate attorney, independent of my brother and Miss Bad, and that he should not represent both one heir and the estate, whose interest and mine obviously are not the same, especially in light of the fact that my brother and his counsel were well aware of the false affidavits that were submitted with regard to the will, which they chose to ignore until I had filed. Number 11, I am making this application to have the court have the executrices hire a separate attorney for the estate other than Mr. Bad, since I have my counsel and my brother has his. The estate should be independently representative and not Mr. Bad representing both the estate, executrices, and my brother, whose interest and mine are obviously not the same. I have never been given an inventory of explanation of assets or anything he has taken or any of the papers of my mother's which are in my brother's possession. He took all the paperwork out of my mom's house. Number 12. It is now 4 months since my mother's death. No representative of the estate has been appointed, although my aunts, apparently dealing with Mr. Bad, have submitted a probate petition that I have never seen, and the assets of the estate could be damaged or wasted if something does not occur. It goes on to say, wherefore, in all fairness and based on his already false affidavit, my brother submitted to the court and upon information and belief has discussed with his attorney, I hereby request the court require the estate to hire an independent counsel to represent the estate and executrixes and not my brother's attorney to protect my interest as well. And so I signed it and hoped for the best because I really didn't think we had a snowball's chance in hell of, beating this, and it was very scary. And so, here's just some of the evidence. This is a text message between my husband and my brother where he basically admits that he knew my mom had a will, but yet he still went and filed a petition. This is a letter I got from the attorney who wrote my mom's will. This is the same letter that my brother accused me of forging for whatever reason. But it's so funny because when I filed it here, he didn't fight it. And here's my brother's petition to become administrator of my mom's estate so he could, control everything and possibly get an extra 10% of the estate.
That email was the most manipulative load of horseshit that I've ever heard in my life.